Hi, and thanks so much for joining me today. We are talking all about the Charlotte Tilbury palette that came out from Beautylish. It's the Instant Look in a Palette 5-minute face on the go, and it is a smoky eye palette. And here's the inside of it. I just used it, so I'm going to walk you through the process. I did a more daytime look and then just vamped it up really quickly with the same items that are in here to get to this point. So I'll take you through 2 looks and give you my thoughts along the way. I'm going to provide a little bit more information about this palette, but if you just want to go to the try, you can click on the timestamp right here. So they do say it is, yes, limited edition, so it won't be available in the future. It features 3 never before seen eyeshadows, including a velvety pigment rich matte black. And it also includes Bar of Gold, which has been a cult classic, which has also been something I've been looking at but never really purchased. But when I saw that it was in this palette, I thought, I've got to get this palette. I probably was going to get anyway, but with the Bar of Gold, that just made it more enticing. And, oh, the best-selling Cheek to Chic First Love Blusher. I don't have that one either, so that's kind of a bonus also to have that in the palette. I'm going to go ahead and swatch them for you right now. Here are the swatches. We've got number 1, it's that shimmery color. Then you've got a matte number 2. 3 is that smoke, that matte black. You can see it went on really smoothly. And then we've got 4, the bronzer, which is almost impossible to see on my skin tone. And then we've got the Swish blush, the pop blush, and then finally the Bar of Gold highlighter. And I know those are a little bit tricky to see on my arm because of the color of my arm, but as you can see on my face, it's definitely evident. You can see the colors, and I'm gonna just jump to the application. So if you'd like to see that, please keep watching. And I know how everyone always talks about how great the packaging for Beautylish is, but it really is. Every time you get a product, it's wrapped really nicely. It's protected really well. It looks like it has a little cummerbund on, like a tuxedo. And then the products inside. There's a little bit of bubble wrap in there too to keep it safe. And here it is. I always think it looks a lot smaller in person than it does online. And you've got, again, 7 products in here. I'm gonna go in with the eyes first. And I love how the number 1 eye brighten is shimmery. Now on my skin tone, it's looking a little bit lighter than it does in the pan, which is not surprising. Really beautiful, subtle shimmer. Ooh, got some creasing on my eyelid from my concealer. I just put a little bit of concealer on here first. Definitely have a brightening effect. I like that. And then we're going in with the number 2, Eye Enhance. And the last palette I talked about, the number 2 was shimmery, which I thought was a little bit odd. So I'm really happy that this one is a matte. I'm just gonna put it in the crease, and that is really beautiful. I expected it to look a little bit more cool than this. So that is really nice. Yeah, initially when I looked at this color, I thought it had too much gray in it for my skin, but as I apply it, it works really nicely. I do tend to gravitate towards warmer colors in this area, but I think that this has just enough warmth to keep it really neutral. I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bit quicker in application than I normally would because I really want to see, it's called 5-minute face in a palette. So I don't want to take forever on this, and see what we can really do. And I mean, it's not going to be 5 minutes, but see what we can do in a shorter amount of time. Now this is really interesting. The eye smoke color, it's a matte black. I'm going to take a liner brush. Oh my gosh, I almost dropped it on the floor. Actually, this is not a liner brush, but it's a Kevyn Aucoin concealer brush. And I'm going to take a little bit of that black. Looked a bit powdery coming off of there. I'm going to go ahead and just see what kind of fallout we've got and line my eyes. Not much fallout. It's creamy, as they say. Just trying to really do a very light line here that's diffused on the end, on the edge. This is for the first look, which is more daytime, more subtle. I love the makeup that they did on the model. She has it blown out just a little bit, so I'm going to take a pencil brush, and this doesn't have any powder on it right now or any product. It's clean, and I'm going to kind of buff that out on the end. I'm going to put a little bit just underneath, just dot it on with that same brush. And then let's go ahead with the, what do I have? The bronzer. I think bronzing is one of my favorite things to do because it really adds to the overall look of your face and the shape of your face, and yeah, one of my favorite things. There's a little bit of shimmer in here, and I'm using the NARS Yaccio brush. When I apply a bronzer, I like to use a motion that is kind of circular, and it sweeps up into the cheekbone, because I tend to notice if I do this, then I will have more of a stripe. I know you can buff it out, but this just has a really nice airbrush diffuse look when I apply it this way. And this brush really helps, the Yachio brush, because it feels so light, so you're very delicate with it. So if you're heavy-handed like I am with bronzers or any powder products, I can tend to be really heavy-handed in application. The lighter the brush, the more subtle it seems to be going on. This does have a bit of pink to it. On my skin, it's really coming across with more of a pinkish base. Definitely more of a neutral tone all over, which I think will work nicely with a warmer or a red lip. But I'm gonna go neutral with my lip as soon as I'm done with this. See how that goes. I'm just gonna pin my hair back for this. Let's see. Someone left me a comment on another video and said, pin back your hair. I hear you. I'm pinning my hair back. And I just like to run the bronzer along my jawline just to kind of add some structure here. I'm using that same motion too, where I'm sweeping it upward. Okay, I'm pinning my hair back. Yeah, I definitely think bronzer is one of my favorite face products. I love bronzer. This is a great one if you like to build up your bronzer. You can definitely layer on. This might go totally awry, but I'm just gonna use it here on the sides of my nose. And I know this brush looks really big for that, but it works really nicely because it buffs it out and you don't get a harsh line. I think there's just enough cool here for it to be workable. I still probably wouldn't choose this as my first choice for this area right here, but in a pinch it would work. That's enough for now. I might go back in a little bit because I love bronzer. Now we're looking like we're getting somewhere. Next up, I'm gonna add some blush. I'm gonna add the number 5 Cheek Swish. Again, the challenge here is to get brushes that fit into these spaces because they're close together. And this is a Tarte blush brush from a holiday blush packet. It wasn't even a palette, it was like a series of little blushes with this brush in it. And that is a gorgeous blush. I have a lot of warm blushes and this one just kind of falls in the middle. There's a bit of warmth there, but not nearly the same kind of warmth that I typically go for, but this is, again, in that neutral family, really beautiful. Then the number 6 Cheek Pop. I'm loving this palette so far. This is a Ray Morris Deluxe Kabuki brush, and I love this brush for just popping on blush because it's so tapered at the end. Really pretty. Blends really nicely together. Yeah, really different than what I normally use for brush. Really beautiful. I love that. I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little bit of lipstick. It's the Hourglass Influencer. And I think I really need to invest in a smaller fan brush, but I love this one so much, the Kevyn Aucoin the fan brush. I'm gonna use this for the face highlight. Really excited about this. Okay, maybe I need to pick up some more. I like that. I like that it's a cool gold color. I'm gonna add some mascara and Tightline and be back in a minute. Here's the first look that's more daytime and also just more subtle if you wanted something more subtle. I Tightlined, like I said, added mascara, and I actually put a little bit of the Laura Mercier matte eye stick in caramel in the waterline just to kind of neutralize it. And that is it for the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and vamp this up with a darker eye. I'm gonna take that black and smoke it out, and then I'm also going to add a different lip. I'm just taking my shadow brush by Smashbox number 30, the shadow liner brush. I'm gonna dip that back into the number 3 smoke color, and I'm going to run that across. I already have mascara, so this is a little trickier, but I'm just gonna run it across and see how I can intensify this. I'm gonna make it kind of messy. That's what I love about these palettes, is that you can kind of just put the color on and then blend it in and you are good to go. So you can leave it like that. It actually makes a nice beautiful gray color when you just have a wash of color over the first eyeshadow color. You've got a bit of that shimmer. And bringing that into the crease a little bit, I'm loving how the shimmer underneath is kind of softening it because this is a matte black. I'm gonna take a blending brush, 105 airbrush blending crease brush. Really beautiful. Yeah, really beautiful. Let's go on with the other side. This isn't patchy at all. Sometimes I find that with black eyeshadows or any dark eyeshadow, sometimes it can be patchy. This one isn't having that issue, so I'm really happy about that. Also, I am adding it on top of the other eyeshadow, which gives it a little bit more of a base to kind of glide over. That really went quickly to dramatic, and when I add the lip, we'll get there too. I'm gonna add a little bit more under and smoke it out underneath as well. Anytime I do work around my eyes, they get red. If you can see, I'm kind of sweeping it up into, there's that bit of a crease on the side of my eye, which actually affects the overall shape of my eye. So I try to either add color or concealer in there, otherwise my eyes look more downturned than they really are. Again, it's blending really nicely. Sometimes it can get a little bit patchy in the crease for me. Not having that problem. Okay, let's see what else can we intensify. I want to play with the bronzer a little bit more. See if I can get more out of it. And I still want to keep the cheeks very simple and very subtle because I'm going to go in with a more bold lip right now. I'm going to use my favorite go-to bold lip right now, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Lips. And this is in Dangerous Liaison. Great formula, beautiful color. I'm just going to add a liquid liner on top just because that's what I normally do right along the lash line, but I think I'm going to keep it like this. All right, and there's the second look. We've got the same items. I really just added a little bit more of that black eyeshadow and a little bit more bronzer just because I wanted to. I probably didn't have to. And then I changed my lip and that was it. So you could see really distinct differences, pretty dramatic, I think, just by adding a little bit more of that black. It wasn't hard, didn't take long. So yeah, here's look number 2. And after this first run with these colors, I highly recommend it. I usually don't like to recommend things unless I've had a chance to really try them out for a while, but I know immediately this is something that I'm going to use over and over. Really happy I purchased it. I also did pick up the Beauty Glow version of this, the last release of the palette, and I would definitely pick this one up before the Glow. I did like that one a lot, but I really love this one. I think mostly because it has colors that I don't typically have, and that black is really amazing in terms of how it applies and how easy it was and how goof proof. Sometimes you can go really wrong with a dark eyeshadow quickly, and this one, I think it would be difficult to do that. Plus that bar of gold and the blush. Bronzer is probably my least favorite of them, but I will use it. I mean, I think it's really pretty, and I think it works well with the colors that are included in this palette. So if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks! But if you just want to skip ahead, you can skip ahead to here, 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 here. Now the product, if you just want to go to the try, and you can click here, here. Features 3 never seen. Why can't I speak? I'm gonna take my shadow liner brush by Smashbox. Oh yeah, I was gonna. Wah!